Hey guys, it's Vernie here. Got an exciting new video today. We have data mined some of the War Within hero talents that are coming up, and Paladin was one of the ones that was released, specifically Lightsmith Paladin, which is a holy protection hybrid. And because that's what I'm playing, I figured I would cover that one first. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these talents, how exciting they may or may not be. So, starting off at the top, Holy Armaments. Active, will the light to coalesce and become manifest at a target location as a holy armament, which may be wielded by you or your allies. Alternates between Holy Bulwark and Sacred Weapon, lasts 20 seconds after being cast, max 2 charges. And we have Holy Bulwark, which, while wielding a Holy Bulwark, gain an absorb shield for 15% of your maximum health and an additional 5% every 2 seconds, stacking up to 30%. That one seems really busted for Holy. Wow. Okay. I mean, Holy Paladin's already kind of known for its defensive toolkit in dungeons. It's probably the healer that brings the most defensively to your party, which is why it's quote unquote meta for Mythic Plus many seasons. So this is kind of an interesting one. Making your party even beefier is always good. You could stick this on a really squishy DPS and help them survive something. And then Sacred Weapon. While wielding Sacred Weapon, your spells and abilities have a chance to deal additional holy damage or healing. So I'm assuming you just give that to your DPS. Now it says at a target location, so I assume that means you target a spot on the ground and then someone goes and picks it up. I don't know if it's like you walk over it and it loots it to you, or if you have to right click it. But there's some kind of interesting thought processes here just because it allows you to decide whom gets the defensive or the offensive buff. Could be interesting. And then in tandem with that, we have Solidarity, which is the next one below it. If an ally picks up an armament, you also gain its benefits. If you pick up an armament, a nearby ally gains its benefits. Okay, so it's like the priest talent, the twins, which gives both people PI. So with this, you will always get the buff, no matter who picks it up, you or an ally. So kind of interesting. Not sure how good it's going to be, just because like we don't know the tuning on this, but extra damage and healing, cool. Free absorb, cool. And then moving to the left, we have a choice node, Rite of Sanctification, or Adjuration. For Sanctification, imbue your weapon with the power of the light, increasing your armor by 5% and your primary stat by 1%. Lasts 1 hour weapon imbue. Huh. So it's kind of like the Shaman weapon imbues, like Wind Fury and Flame Tongue. I wonder if that means, like, if there are weapon runes next expansion, like there are now. Now you have Howling, Buzzing, and Hissing runes, which give you like flat crit haste mastery. I wonder if those are going away, because if those aren't, then that would mean this would overwrite that. You would lose out on that weapon rune. But 5% armor, 1% primary stat seems kind of minor, but you know it's more. Number go up. Adjuration, imbue your weapon with the power of the light, increasing your stamina by 3% and causing your holy power spenders to sometimes unleash a burst of healing around the target. Uh, I think it really depends on how often this is proccing and how much healing it's doing. I mean, because Holy Paladin right now, the spenders are really lackluster. You actually don't really care about your spenders as much. Right now, it's really Flash of Light focused. For Prot, I can see it being decent. Stamina is generally worth more than armor because armor obviously doesn't affect spells. Stamina, you have more health, you're more likely to survive a spell. So, depending on the tuning and proc rate of this, could be pretty good for Prot. I'm kind of questionable on if it's good for Holy or not. Just because spenders are so lackluster right now. Okay, and next we have Laying Down Arms. When an armament fades from you, the cooldown of Lay on Hands is reduced by 15 seconds, and you gain Shining Light or Infusion of Light. So Shining Light is the free Word of Glory you get as protection, and Infusion of Light, it makes your next either 1 or 2 casts, depending on your talents, have a reduced mana cost, reduced cast speed, and additional healing. Primarily, Holy Paladins are using Infusion of Light to spot heal with Flash of Light, and it does quite a bit of healing, and it costs very little mana, so Infusion of Light is very cool. So when an armament fades from you, the cooldown of Lay on Hands is reduced. I mean, could be decent. I mean, more procs is always nice because you get this is obviously augmenting your healing. There are times where in raid I run out of opportunities to use Infusion of Light because if you don't get Holy Shot crits, you're just not getting these procs. So having another reliable way to proc that is nice. Lay on hands, sure. Maybe you'll get two uses in a fight. It's a 7-minute cooldown, so in theory, some of those longer fights you could get two, maybe even three uses, depending on how many armaments you're producing. There wasn't a cooldown on this armament, so don't really know. Max 2 charges, last 20 seconds. We don't know the CD of this, so I mean, it could amount to like a decent amount of healing. And then lastly, we have Shared Resolve. Effect of your active aura is increased by 33% on targets with your armaments. I mean, sure, that's also really, really minor. I mean, for Devo, that's another 1% damage reduction. Cool, I guess. For Ret Aura, I actually don't remember the percentage of Ret Aura, but I mean, sure. It's very minor. Cool, I guess. And we talked about Solidarity already. So that's when you pick up a buff, an ally gets it. When an ally picks it up, you get it. Cool. Moving on to the right. Divine Guidance or Blessed Assurance. Divine Guidance for each holy power ability cast. Your next consecration does additional holy damage or healing split across all enemies up to a fixed total. Really hard to tell with this one. Healing split across all enemies. So I wonder, does it prioritize one or the other? Like if you're holy, is it going to prioritize healing your allies, or is it going to split with enemies and your allies in like a stack on your consecration? Because depending on that, it could like significantly reduce the healing. If there's 6 enemy mobs plus 3 of your party members, then obviously a lot of the consecration is getting soaked up, and kind of wasted as damage instead of healing if you need the healing. Blessed Assurance, casting a Holy Power Spender increases the damage and healing of your next Crusader strike. Blessed Hammer or Hammer of the Righteous by 100%. This one also seems pretty lackluster. I mean, right now in Raid, Holy Paladins are not even casting Crusader Strike. It's that worthless. Like, you don't play Avenging Crusader, so you're not converting damage to healing. It's too mana intensive, and the spenders just aren't good. So, unless there's like a major revamp, this right now seems pretty lackluster, but I guess it obviously depends on tuning, and a lot can happen between now and then. Neither of these seems super good. I don't like having to rely on consecration because you move a lot, so having that is just kind of eh. Okay, and the next one, Fear No Evil or Excoriation. Fear No Evil, while wielding an armament, the duration of fear effects is reduced by 50%. It's pretty cut and dry. And Excoriation, enemies within 5 yards of Hammer of Justice's target are slowed by 15%. Yeah, these are both like kind of like nothing burger talents. Like, I mean, you're hodging like once every minute, and it's only a 15% slow. That's pretty weak. And then the fear effects, I can't imagine that being impactful on very much at all. How many mobs are fearing you right now? The mobs in Darkheart Thicket, the core hounds in the raid. That's it. I guess it could be interesting for PvP as a choice talent, but this is one of those ones that you don't really care about. And then we have Hammer and Anvil. Judgment critical strikes cause a shockwave around the target, dealing additional holy damage or healing at the target's location. This one could be decent. You are actually casting Judgment a lot. I know for Prot, Judgment is one of their highest single target abilities. It's one of their priorities. And for Holy, it's okay. It's one of the only builders you might actually cast. You really don't want to cast Crusader Strike, but Judgment you can sometimes make a case for. So this could be good. I mean, it's damage and healing. Cool. And then going back to the middle. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place. Not really doing it sequentially very well, huh? We have Divine Inspiration or Forewarning. Divine Inspiration. Your spells and abilities have a chance to manifest a holy armament nearby. So I wonder, does that put it at the location you set the original one? Target location. Nearby. So is this a random spawn that you have to run over and click? I wonder what the proc rate on this is. Obviously, there's no numbers, so it's hard to gauge. And then Forewarning, the cooldown of Holy Armaments is reduced by 20%. So I guess it's more of a, would you rather have planned Holy Armaments, or are you okay with just RNG spawning one? I mean, me personally, I kind of like the planning stuff just because it's easier to tell X person, hey, go get this holy armament at this location. I'll ping you. Go grab it every 40 seconds or whatever. Oh, kind of interesting. The Valiance. Consuming Shining Light or Infusion of Light extends the duration of any active armaments by 3 seconds, or reduces the cooldown by 3 seconds if none exist. This one seems pretty good. I mean, so and combined with this, you're getting more Infusion of Light and Shining Light procs. Prot doesn't have a lot of the procs, but like every, 30 to 45 seconds you're getting one. So that's pretty nice. But for Holy, Infusion of Light is every time you crit with Holy Shock, which happens a lot. I mean, when you're running 40 or 50% crit, you can have it up, I mean, pretty much the entire fight. So having this and having it extend the duration seems pretty good. I wonder if there's a cap on that. Normally these things have a cap on them. You can't just extend them indefinitely, but if you could, it could be pretty decent. Reduce the cooldown by 3 seconds if none exist. Sure. More frequent armaments just means more buffs for you, more procs, etc. And then the final capstone is Blessing of the Forge. Avenging Wrath summons an additional sacred weapon, and during Avenging Wrath, your sacred weapon casts spells on your target and echoes the effects of your holy power abilities. So you get an additional sacred weapon, and it just echoes your spells, whether that's healing or damage. I mean, Avenging Wrath is already a really good cooldown, so like baking more power into it seems pretty good. Not like mega exciting or like gameplay inspiring, but this could be cool. And then, there's some thought with like placing these and who to pick up. I mean, overall, seems like an okay class fantasy. I think it's very holy slash protection themed. I mean, they did a good job of keeping it thematic. I'll give them that. I'm interested to see some of the Ret talents, how they'll bake in damage with Herald of the Sun or Templar, but for now these seem like good supplementals. Holy and Protection are both like pretty support-oriented tanks and healers, so I think this definitely fits the theme. Depending on tuning, some of these could be really cool, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, if you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to leave them down below. I'll also have a link to my stream, twitch.tv/Veronix. Feel free to come check me out, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.